I think most of you went to bed last night going, I'm glad the Warriors won, but that was unsatisfying, and I'm frustrated with Steve Kerr. I totally get it, but what's seemingly odd, I guess the only take I feel like you can come away with and really be fair about it is to say that Steve has waited too long to arrive where he seemingly arrived. But if you hear a lot of people go, God, it is time to start being a little bit more open-minded as far as the lineup is concerned. He said that. That's what he said after the game.
Right.
I'm going to be forced to start looking at different lineups.
It's an interesting notion that you just put out there because I don't know if he's arrived at the place that everybody wants him to have arrived.
He says he has.
Right. To where he's
unless you're just a give it to the young guys person.
Well,
and the Warriors are never going to do that.
So we go into Oklahoma City tomorrow.
Yeah.
And is the expectation that he's going to change the starting lineup We'll
ask him.
Right. But I think.
What's the starting lineup tomorrow, Coach?
I think what people want would be, like you said earlier, Kuminga in, Moody in, Wiggins out, and Looney out. And I don't necessarily think that he's going to do that. And
I don't think he's going to do that, but is there an open-mindedness to different matchups?
Especially against an Oklahoma City team that can get up and down.
Right.
And they don't necessarily kill you with the size like that. So maybe you can get away with not having Kevon in the starting lineup.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know what the specific changes would be. I bet he doesn't. I think he's just expressing the possibility that this is going to be game to game. And I think the larger point is this. Yes, they are willing to go away from their star-studded starting lineup, especially if it continues to not work. I think that's largely what people are asking for. No?
Yeah, I think they're more asking for minutes. They're asking for Kuminga and Moody to play early in games and play often in games. Be in the rotation. And that's where it gets interesting because, as we talked about, there are only so many minutes to go around. So your bench is Šarić and Paul, Kuminga and Moody and Podziemski for right now. GP2 will make it a 6-man bench. You'll have 11 guys. And sorry to TJD, but you're just not there yet in Steve's eyes. So fans want those bench guys to play more than they're playing. But as you mentioned earlier, Mark, what that means is the other guys are going to play less. And you don't want Steph's not going to play less. Steph's going to play his 36 minutes a game for the most part. And Draymond's not going to play less.
Correct.
Unless he gets ejected or injured or both. So now you're looking at 3 spots. It's Wiggins, it's the Looney spot, and Looney only plays about 18 minutes a night anyway, and it's Klay Thompson.
Looney had less minutes than Kuminga last night.
Right.
Last night.
And Looney and his minutes, that's kind of where they're going to be, I would imagine. He's going to be in that 16 to 20 minute a night spot. That's probably his sweet spot anyway. So it really comes down to Wiggins and Klay. How much do you take away from Wiggins and Klay and give to Moody and Kuminga?
See, but I think it comes down to, you're right, and then it comes down to, in the end, something a little bit more intricate than that. And this is, I guess, maybe the question that really should rule the day. And I want to say this right so that it's not an easy answer. Are you willing to change the goal? Those are the words that Steve used. Are you willing to, I'm not going to say, are you willing to give up? Because who the hell, that just works against our senses. No one's like, I am.
Yeah.
Are you willing to change the goal? Because I would argue that even though it could be a very rational take to say, this team's not championship caliber, fine. If that's your thought, totally get it. Totally get it. I don't usually like to let my brain go there in December of an NBA season. I referenced earlier that the Boston Celtics 2 years ago were 24-24 on January 23rd. And then, next thing you know, they were favored to beat the Warriors in the NBA championship.
But they didn't have rotation issues. They just weren't playing that
well. And they're younger and all that stuff. But, I mean, are they going to find the fountain of youth? Sometimes it's funny. We're like, and I know the major injury part of it, but we're giving up on Klay and Wiggins, yet we're totally still in on the superstar who's many years older than both of them. So Can they find it? I'm not giving up on that yet. I just think you have to admit, if you want Moody and Kuminga to play significant minutes, I can't argue right now that they shouldn't. They've done some really good things. Moody in particular just is like Johnny Cool. Like, he's super consistent. And I think that's what coaches love, and it's why he's getting out there more in addition to GP2's injury. But you do have to acknowledge there's literally no chance, if you give more responsibility to people who haven't turned 25 yet, the chances of you being relevant in May are next to nothing. And maybe
it's a long shot.
And maybe you're okay with that.
They haven't even turned 22 to that point. And you think about Kawhi Leonard when he won the title with the Spurs as a rookie, he was probably 23. I think he spent a full slate at San Diego State. So he was an older rook, but still, that is a one-off. You don't often see a guy get the NBA Finals MVP at that age, and these guys are barely 21. I don't think anyone's saying give him the keys to the kingdom. Fans just want to see him more often and more consistently. That's what I'm hearing from fans. Agreed. And I'd love that too. But there's a flip side to that I think you keep pointing to, he keeps pointing to. You're not going to have Clay and Andrew find it on the bench. Right. And so if you do make their minutes more inconsistent, if you lessen their role, it lessens the chances that they're going to find it and that this team can go on some sort of a run, even if that run is short of this mythical goal that the Warriors continue to promote. Even if you don't buy it, and I know most people don't, and I get that. Fine. I get that. Well, the goal right now is to be a top 6 seed. That's the goal. Okay. In terms of like, so do you want to change? So forget the championship, just top 6. Get a top 6 seed. Okay. And then when we get to April, we can talk about, can you win a championship? Yeah. And I mean, if you start highlighting or promoting, as you said, people who haven't turned 22, I mean, history will tell you in the NBA that's not going anywhere. Right. You may benefit from that 2 years from now. Not this year. But you might benefit from it in April if you give these guys a real look now and you're able to get to a 6 seed, for example. Right now, the 6 is Sacramento, and you're 2 games back of Sacramento. So, as you mentioned before earlier in the week, it's going to be a pretty tightly packed race in the West. So, it's not like this thing's getting away from you. You are 6.5 back of Minnesota, but whatever. They're the 1 seed. Nobody looks at this Warrior team as a 1 seed or even really a 2 seed. Maybe a 3 if everything falls into place. But honestly, this feels to me like an 82 game. Let's see what we have. Get a top 6 seed, and then you get to April, and now you've got championship caliber, and you got a group of vets you can ride with. Yeah. I think that's a better way to say it. You know, like we are similar to what we did with the Niners for a while. Like, stop talking about the title. Stop talking about June. Can they get a top 6 seed? They're 2 games out of it right now. You know, a lot of people are trumpeting that. They're not even in the playoffs right now. Come on. Right. They're 21 games in. They're a half game out of the play-in tournament. There's all kinds of stuff that'll still reveal itself. There's a clear 11 teams for 10 spots. Okay, but if you look at the standings. But let's talk about that 6 seed. I think what you watched in the 3-6 matchup last year sort of tells Steve Kerr's story. You've got a younger, more athletic bunch with home court. And what happened? They lost because that's what younger and more athletic usually does when we get to the end in the NBA. So I'm not saying Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga can't play roles, shouldn't play roles. They should. They can be a little bit bigger. I guess this is maybe even just more about the concept of it. If you feel like they're the savior, I'd argue you're wrong. Have they earned more minutes? Does that make sense for the organization? And certain matchups, agree wholeheartedly. But if in your mind you're like, his team will start clicking once the 21-year-old gets 27 minutes a night, right? That's not how it works. And you for winning teams, yes, exactly. And you can't argue that Kuminga is perfectly consistent either. He's not. No. He was good last night. He was amazing. Right, and Moody's been great of late, and Podziemski's been a nice surprise. Those guys are averaging 20, 19, and 19 minutes apiece, respectively. Kuminga's at 19-7. Moody's at 19-2. Podziemski's at 18-9. Moody's played every game. Kuminga's missed one. Podziemski's played in 15 of the 21. So you're seeing a pattern emerge in terms of their playing time. So if you give the three of them 20 minutes a game, okay, 20, 20, and 20, they all get their 20 minutes a night. That's 60 of the 240. Steph gets the 36. That's 96. Draymond is going to get you, 25 right now. You'd like to get more from Draymond.
Yep.
My point is you're running out of minutes for Saric and for CP3, for Wiggins, for Looney, for Klay Thompson. So you can't always just give these guys 20, 25 minutes a night. You don't have enough time.
Vince in the city here on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Vince. What you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? Driving home from work again. I just wanted to chime in with this minute allocation thing. I think, so we're, 20 games, 21 games into the season. It's been the same lineup pretty much from the beginning of the season. I feel like it's still early enough to maybe switch it up for 10 games, 15 games, and see what happens with more playing time from Moody and Kuminga. I mean, it's the same thing in every profession. Employers want guys with experience, right? But a new guy's not going to have any experience.
Right.
And where are they supposed to go? Where are they supposed to go get it? Now, I feel like of the two, I would have to say if you had to pick and choose, I'm giving more minutes to Moody than Kuminga because Moody has been pretty damn reliable since we got him. Klay, we've seen what Klay's been doing for the last two seasons now, and Andrew Wiggins, and I don't know what his deal is. It's the same Minnesota Andrew Wiggins is what I'm seeing now, where he looks like he's just going through the motions, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if he needs to be on the team because it looks like they need effort guys, and there's not a lot of effort from some of these vets, quote unquote vets, that are on the team.
Vince, what's the specific lineup you'd like to see them check out for 10 games?
I don't know if I would even really change the starting lineup. I would just say maybe bring the guys off the bench sooner.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Bring Moody and Kuminga in, and get Klay and Wiggins out a little sooner. Maybe 4 minutes more. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to be drastic, but let's just see what happens if they get a little more run with the starters. Because we know what they do with Chris Paul in that second unit, because that second unit's pretty damn solid. But when the starters need a break, but they can't really give up too much push, they need to be ready and know what it's like playing with Steph and Draymond more and more.
That's the
because
thing.
It's going to come down to that come playoff time.
Yep, the continuity would take a break. Thank you very much, Vince. I mean, that's the thing. You know what I mean? Like we're all such prisoners of the moment, and we all want like, what have you done for me lately? So this is all like a great idea until Kuminga goes out there and has a 9-minute run where he looks awful.
Right.
And then what do you do?
Hot shot.
Yeah. You're like, nope, we're in our 10-game Kuminga stretch. Stick with it. I know we're down by 18 at home against Washington.
Yeah.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
That's right. It just
2 weeks from tomorrow.
depends on the game. Last night you had Klay go out first at the 7-minute mark in the first quarter, and you had Moses Moody come in, Saric for Looney. You had Wiggins and Green go out for Paul and Podziemski about 8 minutes in. So Steve Kerr has a plan. He has a rotation, and I wonder how that changes now going into the next game the way Kuminga played.